Okay, here's a short video on how to set up a GPS on Tuner Studio on a Windows 10 PC as well as a Raspberry Pi 4 setup. I have a Trimble GPS here that comes in via USB port. And the first thing, I want to know which COM port it is. So I go into Device Manager and look at my COM ports. Right now I have these ports here. It is not plugged in right now, so now I'm plugging it in and I should get an additional port. That port is the one I want to use. So, and as we can see, I got a USB serial port because that's my COM port converter on COM2. So the second thing we need to find out is the speed. Every simple terminal program will do. I use Procom Plus since I'm used to it. So now, this is already on COM port 2, and as we can see, data is coming in, but it's all garbled. So now we're going to change the speed until we have something that makes sense. Still garble. There it is. So now we can actually see our location and all kinds of data in here. So now we know this thing is on COM port 2 and it transmits 38,400 baud. Okay, I'm going to close Procom and start Tuner Studio. I set up one for GPS testing, one dash that has everything in it. So as we can see already, it shows GPS is active. I show you what this looks like if the GPS is off. I'm just going to unplug it now. Okay. So you can see it still thinks it's active because I unplugged it hard, but the clock stopped running. So that tells me, okay, this thing is not working, plus nothing is really moving. So now I'm going to plug it back in. And there we go. Now everything shows. I don't have a control unit on here, so that's why this shows offline. This has nothing to do with the GPS, of course. So now my GPS is active. I got a position. I have altitude and all the good stuff. And this is indoors. My antenna is on the inside, so I don't have the best GPS receive here, but it's still working. I wish I could get this offline thing out of the way, but I can't. So we're seeing 5 satellites. There we go. So now we're going to look into our communications port. Settings. Oh, that was the wrong one, sorry. Communication, GPS configuration. So it's GPS enabled, serial port, serial interface, COM port 2, 38,400 baud. And it's not a Bluetooth port. I don't know if this has to be on if you have a Bluetooth GPS or not. And then you just click accept. Actually, I guess it reconnected. That's why it went offline for a second. And now all these fields are green again. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing on the Raspberry Pi. So I'm using VNC to connect to my Raspberry Pi. There it is. Make this a little bigger. So and here it's pretty much the same thing. I did the same thing. I set up a dashboard that doesn't have all the stuff on it, but it has my speed on it, has the GPS fix on it, and it clocks the time, which is a very good indicator to see if it actually works or not. We do the same thing. We go to communications, GPS configuration, we enable GPS. It's an RS-232 interface. And this one it's called different here. They're not called COM. This one is called TTY USB 1. And this is the only one that's there. The other one here, the AMO, is for the I/O pins. So this is my USB device. I know my speed already from my previous test. It's not a Bluetooth port, and I click accept. and nothing happens. Oh, I have to click accept and cancel. Alright, there we go. So now we can see the GPS is active and the clock is running. So we are good here. So my GPS speed dances up to 0.2 once in a while. It's probably because I'm not outside. There we go. That's all the settings. Communication, GPS configuration, serial port, correct USB, correct speed, accept, and close. And there we go. There it is. There's another way to look at this. We can also use the mini terminal. So we go to the mini terminal. We're gonna select the port. Same port, USB port, and the baud rate 38400, and then we open the port. And we don't see anything. Let's try this again. GPS is active. Maybe I have to turn it off for this. GPS configuration. I disable it. Accept. Yeah. What noise? I taped the. So we can also use the test port to it. In order to do this, I actually turned it off. So my GPS is disabled. Since we can only have one at a time, then we can go to communications. Mini terminal. We select our port or speed, and then we open the port, and that is, here we can see what's coming from the GPS. Exit, and then go back and turn it back on. GPS configuration, GPS back on, correct port, accept, and close, and there we go. GPS active, it's counting. I hope this helps. Feel free to ask any questions.